The Vancouver Canucks are still alive. After 3 tough, bad losses on this homestand, the Canucks come out and look like they're going to throw another game down the trash, but they come out in the third period, bring it back, and take the win in OT. So let's break this one down. Well, it's the Canucks against the Rangers, and the Rangers have looked really solid to start this season, 6-2-1, right up there in the Eastern Conference. And the Canucks have been faltering, 0-3 at home coming into this one, and it's Thatcher Demko against Igor Shesterkin, 2 goalies who were absolutely phenomenal tonight. And the Canucks start this one, honestly, pretty okay in the first period. They're keeping the play in the New York zone quite often, but they're really unable to produce any high danger chances. Tyler Myers has basically the best chance of the first period on a play in the slot where he kind of stepped in from the point, found some open space, got a shot through. If you look at the analytics, that was the Canucks' best chance of the period. 13 minutes in, we have Rooney on the Rangers side. Looks like he's getting a partial breakaway, but he's just slow. Quinn Hughes just fires back, skates all the way, just takes the puck away from him, no problem, with ease. Canucks end up getting a late power play in the second period. Power play 1, absolutely useless tonight. But power play 2 comes out, gets set up. Connor Garland catching the crossbar. Then just shortly after that, Connor Garland, another chance in tight, making a move to the backhand, catches the shoulder of Shesterkin, and then I think the bar again. And just like that, we're scoreless after 1. Shots were 8-6, pretty low event first period. Most chances on both sides were pretty low danger. We go to the second period, and things pick up in a bad way. It's 2.5 minutes in. It's Adam Fox. He gains the zone on the power play, feeds Panarin on the left-hand side. He skates in, and he finds back post Mika Zibanejad. He sneaks behind Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who and then Zibanejad just tucks it in, backdoor, 1-0, just like that for the Rangers. Now, the Canucks then tried to bounce back, right? They get a few opportunities, but they can't get anything dangerous. They get a ton of power plays. I think they had 5 power plays by the end of the second period. And then the Rangers end up getting on the power play with 7 minutes left to play. Literally 3 seconds into this power play, a quick 1T off the draw has Artemi Panarin firing at 5-hole past Demko, 2-0, and things are looking bleak. I'm sitting there at the corner, row 2, and it feels bleak. I saw after this stretch of power plays, as JT Miller was coming off the ice, I saw him looking at Travis Green. I assume he was looking at the bench, and I think he said, what the bleep is going on? And I think that was just that. I read his lips, and that's exactly what he said. And it was just sort of a sign of how this Canucks team is feeling, how the power play is feeling. Late in the second, Canucks do get a great chance as Elias Pettersson in tight. He catches the bar, had Shesterkin beat, but things just aren't going the Canucks' way. Shots in the second period, 14-8 for Vancouver. However, the Rangers are up 2, and nothing was really high danger to this point, right? The Canucks have 14 plus 8, 22 shots through 2 periods, but you weren't looking at it and being like, the Canucks were this close to having a few goals, right? There was a couple decent chances, the Pettersson one being the best, and a couple of Garland ones, but just still nothing really seeming too dangerous for the Canucks. But we go to the third period, and the Canucks come out hungry. They know that the team's in trouble. If the Canucks lose this one, they're 3-6-1, 7 points through 10 games, which would be on pace for, I think, 57 points, which is not a playoff team. I'll tell you that, to say the least. So they come out hungry in the third, and we have 90 seconds into the period. We have Elias Pettersson feeding Connor Garland down low. He fires a backdoor pass. It gets behind Keandre Miller, and JT Miller is right there, tucks it home. Very similar to the Zibanejad goal, and the Canucks have life down 2-1. And then just 4 minutes later, it's Tyler Myers at the point. He feeds Connor Garland down low again, who just seems to have great vision. He finds everyone, and he finds Vasily Podkolzin, left face-off circle, all by himself. Nothing but daylight in front of him, between him and Igor Shesterkin, and he absolutely rips one past Shesterkin. Just like that, we're tied. Now, about halfway through the third, The Canucks almost take the lead. JT Miller, it's a totally broken play in front. It's a diving save by Shesterkin. I remember standing up and just hands on head being like, how did that stay out? But it did, so we're still tied at 2. Then, less than 3 minutes to go in this game, in the third period, all hell breaks loose. We have a pretty ticky-tack holding call on Niels Höglander. The Rangers are buzzing. Thatcher Demko has to make a diving save on Kreider. And then they make another call on Oliver Ekman-Larsson for a hook that, to me, at least at ice level, looked like a very normal stick lift in my mind, but they call it a hook. So it's a 5-on-3 power play for the New York Rangers. A flurry of chances in tight, and they just have so many shots. Thatcher Demko loses the blocker. He puts the arm up. He's like, ref, I don't have a blocker. Play continues. Arm goes behind his back. He doesn't need 2 hands to make these saves. And Thatcher Demko just puts on a Dominic Hasek-like performance. I think Thomas Strantz had a tweet saying a very tidy move by the Canucks to acquire prime Dominic Hasek for this game, because that is what that is what Thatcher Demko was tonight. He was absolutely phenomenal once again. There's one play where he's down on his stomach and he kicks the feet up and kicks the puck away. And he kept the game alive. JT Miller staying there behind him, and I listened to his post-game availability. He's like, I'm just glad it hit Demko and not me, because I didn't want to take that puck. And it's just an absolutely phenomenal play by Thatcher Demko. And then the ref eventually blows it down because it doesn't have a blocker. I don't know what changed in that time period, but eventually they do blow it down. So the Canucks are still alive. They kill both penalties. We're off to overtime. Overtime was your standard possession game. Not a lot of chances each way. The Rangers go in, they get a scoring chance, but all 3 Rangers are down low trying to score. Demko makes the save, puck comes out, and it's a feed by Quinn Hughes to JT Miller, and he's off to the races. Everybody stands up. Everyone in our section is up on their feet, hoping, praying, come on, let's break the slump here, JT. And he stays on the forehand, and it's a great save by Shesterkin. But he can't control the puck. The puck gets through his legs. It's behind the net. Miller wins the race to the puck, wraps it around, smacks it home, and then immediately looks directly into my eyes in row 2, section 119, and a bunch of other people's eyes, but I want to think that it was me, and just gives the arms in the air, the let's go. We're yelling, we're fist pumping, and it was magic. That's all it was. JT Miller coming in to win the game in overtime, a beautiful goal, and it's exactly what the Canucks needed. Instead of being at 3-6-1, they're 4-5-1, 9 points in 10 games. It's not the end of the world. They aren't more out of it. They got a win that they needed, and they're going to need to keep building on this. They're going to need to go out and put a solid performance against Nashville, and then against Dallas, and then against Anaheim. 3 huge games coming up, because the Canucks can't keep chasing 500 all season. They need to get above 500. They need to stay above 500 if they want to be in the race for the playoffs, because you need to be about 12 to 14 points above 500 at the end of the season. All right. Pluses, minuses, and then we'll get to your thoughts here live. Pluses, the battle back is a big one. The Canucks went down 2-0, and I remember sitting there, second intermission. I went up to the concourse. I grabbed a slice of pizza. I grabbed a beer. And I thought, you know what? If the Canucks are going to lose, they're going to lose, and I'm going to have a delicious slice of pizza at the very least. And we were sitting there, we were chatting with the people around us, and it felt bleak. It was like, well, they're not scoring 2 goals, right? The Canucks haven't scored 2 goals in the last 3 games. The last time they did it against Philadelphia, and they only scored 2 goals, or not against Philadelphia, it was the game before that, right? Against Minnesota, something like that. I don't know. I can't even keep track at this point. There's been so few goals that it's hard to remember them. And we're all sitting there and we're thinking, you know what? It's just not going to be their night. They had a lot of chances. Not a lot were high danger. And they come out, and JT Miller with the tuck, and then Vasily Podkolzin absolutely clutch. He only played, I think, 7 minutes tonight. But he was great. He had a couple of really big hits that I loved. He had a clutch goal for the team. Vasily Podkolzin, even though he is a rookie and he's he's only playing, a few minutes a night in this case. I mean, I actually want to see the number. I have it up here. He played 7 minutes, 4 seconds tonight. By far the least on the Canucks. The only person not in double digits of time on ice. And I thought he had a really good game. He has his goal. He had 3 shots on goal. Now here's a stat for you. 7 minutes of ice time for Vasily Podkolzin. He had 6 hits. He was a force to be reckoned with out there, and I think he needs to start getting more ice time because he was genuinely a big part of the team tonight. The next plus is that the Vancouver Canucks outshot the Rangers heavily. And I mean, this is kind of a grain of salt one because a lot of those shots were from the point, from the outside. Not a lot of shots in tight, except for when they needed them. The Miller goal, the Podkolzin goal, the Meyer chance. Pettersson had a good chance. Garland had a couple good chances. But there was a lot of shots from the outside. The biggest plus, actually, we'll go to the next one, JT Miller. JT Miller was absolutely clutch. He was mad. He was frustrated. And we've seen JT Miller be frustrated a lot in the past and continuing this year. But he went out and he said, you know what? No, I'm not giving up and you're not giving up either. So he went out and he worked his tail off. He got that breakaway. He didn't score. Lots of people go in on a breakaway. They take a shot and they peel away. He didn't. He took the shot. He stopped in front of the net. He picked up the puck. He went around and he scored. Excellent game from JT Miller. But the biggest plus, and it's not close, it's Thatcher Demko. Sure, maybe he wants that Panarin goal back. A long shot from the point that beat him 5-hole. But he more than made up for it, especially in that final 3 minutes of the third period. The absolute flurry of saves that he made. And the emotion in the arena, because the arena had been, and I can see the Asian goalie mentioning this in the chat here, the crowd was very dead after the first 2 periods and through the first 2 periods because there was nothing to be excited about. And then people were feeling a bit better when it was 2-2. And then the 2 bad penalties that were called, or at least that looked bad in arena, and everyone's uniting together against the refs. And then Thatcher Demko goes on that flurry of saves. And everyone, it's a mixture of people yelling and clapping and also just being in shock and awe. And everyone's standing up and just clapping because of what everyone just witnessed. It was absolutely amazing from Thatcher Demko. He's my biggest plus of the game. On the minus side, we do have some minuses. Look, the Canucks, they barely pulled this one out. They did get the win in overtime, but the first 2 periods, they were behind after 2. Minuses for this one, still so many dump-ins. Whenever the Canucks have the puck, they seem to just try to dump and chase, and it doesn't work a lot of the time. It worked okay tonight. The Canucks did get 30-something shots. What were the shots actually in this one? Do I have it up? Shots were 36-25, 4-0 in overtime. So the Canucks did have the puck the most of the game and did get shots on net, but a lot of those shots, like I said, were from the point, lots of dump-ins, lots of low percentage shots. This is my second minus, was all the low percentage shots. So many things from the outside, the rare chances in tight, which the Canucks were able to capitalize on a couple. Other minuses. Power play 1 was terrible. Power play 1 did absolutely nothing tonight. They couldn't get set up in the offensive zone. There was that Miller quote that I mentioned that came off of the power play. Power play 1 was just flat out abysmal. Power play 2 would come out there. They'd get a little bit of energy going, but they're only out there for the last 45 seconds of the power play. The Canucks were, I think, 0 for 5, 0 for 6 on the power play. Before this game, the Vancouver Canucks were at 18.8%. I remember because I looked at it on Canucks After Dark last night. I want to see, I'm going to pull it up right now. After going 0 for 6 tonight, the Vancouver Canucks power play is at, I clicked on the wrong thing. That's points percentage. Power play percentage, the Vancouver Canucks are at 15.8% on the power play. That's way too low. And they're at 70% on the penalty kill, allowing 2 power play goals tonight against the Rangers. Special teams is just not good enough. You add those up, that's 85.8%. You got to be above 100 if you're a good special teams team, and they just haven't been. And allowing the 2 power play goals, not able to capitalize on those 6 power plays. And I had a tweet in the second period when the Canucks had this flurry of like 3 power plays in a row. I said, this is a must convert. The Canucks have to score on this power play, because the Rangers are getting the next 2 or 3 power plays because they are going to even it up. And they did. Power plays ended up being 6-5 because they called the 2 late ones on the Canucks late in the third period that Demko bailed out. So those are my minuses. Let's go game pucks. Game pucks are pretty easy in this one. For the Vancouver Canucks, it's Thatcher Demko. And it's not close. It's not close. Again, he probably wants a Panarin goal back, but he absolutely balled out and saved the game late in the third, stopping 23 of 25 shots. He has been so good lately. And I mean, you look at the last few games, and the Canucks had lost 3 in a row, but they were only allowing 2 goals a game and then 3 goals in the one prior. So you can't put this on Demko. Demko has been absolutely phenomenal. And for the Rangers, we're going to give it to Adam Fox. 2 assists in this one. And just watching him up close, he just didn't make any mistakes. Every time he was on the ice, just he would hold the line, or he'd get the puck and just make a nice pass. He just never made any mistakes on the ice. Panarin also could get it. He was excellent as well. So we'll give it to both of them in this one. I also thought Shesterkin had a good game as well. All right, let's get to your questions. There's a lot to go through. Let's see if we can get this working. There we go. Waiting for chat. Let's pull some questions up. I'm going to scroll up to the top of the list. Lots of hype at the beginning of the chat. Aisha with a woo. Lincoln with a let's go. This was all before the game. I said, what a win. I was fired up on the train back from Rogers Arena. Marcus, 2 a.m. in Montreal, staying up to celebrate with everyone. Cheers, Marcus. Thank you for hanging out with us. James saying that this game is the reason we watch hockey. Absolutely, right? It's a team that we sort of gave up on halfway through this game, and they came out and they rallied back and they made it a heck of a game and an absolutely just a fun finish, right? Like that made my ticket worth it, my ticket purchase worth it, sitting there and being right next to JT Miller, who scored the winner. I'm going to scroll a lot here. We have Fangirl saying Demko played great tonight. Absolutely. Thatcher Demko was an absolute monster in net. We are going to find some good ones here. There's a lot of things that aren't questions back in the beginning, lots of just thoughts, but Sonny saying, so happy for Podkolzin. He was so disappointed when he didn't score on that drive to the net. Rare to see a player who cares so much and was rewarded with a goal. And this is what we keep hearing about Vasily Podkolzin, is he just loves the game. Like, he loves playing hockey. He loves scoring goals. I bet he was probably the most fired up person after that game that the Canucks got the win. He has been so fun to watch. And I just remember, watching him there, and everyone was so fired up with all the plays he was making. James saying for the biggest moment for him was the penalty kill 5-on-3. It was massive. Yeah. After that, I don't think the Canucks could have lost. Like basically the way that they got bailed out by Thatcher Demko, and the crowd absolutely rallied behind the team there. It was absolutely huge. Agam saying that JT Miller is such a mystery, plays terrible for the first half, then scores 2 and looks amazing in the second half. Yeah, JT Miller didn't have a great first half, but he didn't let it impact the rest of his game. He went out and he got the job done. Let's scroll here. Agam saying then that Podkolzin was throwing the body around. Yeah, 6 hits for Vasily Podkolzin tonight. Marcus saying, if Demko broke his hand there, what does he do? Sue the NHL refs? I don't think so. I think it's just an injury. I don't know what the rule is there. It was weird that they didn't blow it down for like 30 seconds and then they did blow it down as if the rule changed there. I don't know what it was, but you know what? It worked out because I think those saves really rallied the team and it really got the crowd involved. The crowd totally turned on its head after that Demko flurry of saves. Huge block for Pullman too. Absolutely. Tucker Pullman laid out for that one late in the third. Pullman had a really quietly solid game. Not a lot of mistakes there for Tucker Pullman. Hope saying that she got chills. Absolutely. Lucas saying, who are you going to call slump busters? Yeah, the Canucks needed it. The Canucks needed a win after these last few games. So let's enjoy it. We got 2 days before the game on Friday against Nashville. So a couple of days to treasure this win. And I'm sure Travis Green is pretty happy that they pulled it off. Agam saying that Connor Garland is genuinely one of the best offseason acquisitions ever. He's so good. He's consistently so good with the puck. He's always working so hard. He's always spinning as if he's a washing machine. He has been so excellent. Kai saying one of our better 5-on-5 games as of late. I'd agree, but our special teams was horrendous. I'd also agree there. Demko and Garland are amazing. Yep. 100% correct on all fronts there. The special teams needs to get it together because it has cost the team points and it will continue to cost the team points if they're putting up, 85% aggregate on the power play and penalty kill combined. Asian goalie saying, was at the game tonight. Crowd was so dead the first 2 periods. Third period was lit. Absolutely. The first 2 periods, and I was part of it. I was sitting there, sipping my beer, being like, all right, well, this is a hockey game that nothing's going to happen in. The Canucks have no shot at coming back. But the third period was absolutely phenomenal. Time for hockey asking what the lines were looking like. They were getting shuffled a lot. We were seeing the Lotto line. We were seeing Garland getting moved up there, and I think Besser dropping down at times. They were getting shuffled so much, it was hard to keep track. Sonny saying, so confused as to why Puck Colson doesn't get played more. Part of the reason I question Green's decision making. I kind of agree here, right? In the third period, I mean, I think he might have got like 1 or 2 shifts after he scores that goal 5 minutes in. And he was really good tonight. Like, it wasn't that he wasn't playing well, even though he scored a goal and he had a few hits. He wasn't playing well. It wasn't that. He was playing really well. He was genuinely carrying while he was on the ice. 6 hits. I mean, you can't understate that. And it's not like, he rubbed a guy on the boards. Like, he was laying people out. He was a big part of the game here. For the Canucks. I am surprised as well that he only played 7 minutes. I thought he'd be closer to at least 12. We had Chase on playing 12 and a half. Justin Bailey played 4.5 minutes more than Vasily Podkolzin, and Podkolzin made so much more of an impact. So I am quite surprised. I wonder if he got questioned about it in media availability. I hope he did. I hope he continues to get questioned for it, because I'd hope to see that change. Because Vasily Podkolzin looks like a really, really good player. Edmund saying the JT Miller OT goal reminds me of what Burrows did back in 08-09 when the Canucks broke the streak versus Carolina. Yeah, it did have shades of that, absolutely. Where back in 08-09, it looked like that Canucks team was going to sort of get torn apart there on a big losing streak. It looked like AV was on the hot seat. And then the Canucks pulled this one out and JT Miller clutched it. And who knows, maybe 4 weeks from now, we're looking back on this game as something that turned the season around. Again, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. They still have a long ways to go. We are 10 games into the season. We got 72 to go. But if the Canucks rebound from this, maybe go on a bit of a run, I think this performance, especially from JT Miller and Thatcher Demko, could be sort of the TSN turning point of the season. Sonny saying the Panarin goal didn't go 5-hole. Poulin tipped it in front of my blocker side. That's fair. I watched the highlight and then I paused it after the shot because I was taking my notes. It was hard to tell because I was on the opposite side of the ice during that one. Marcus saying Schenn is underrated. I thought Schenn was quietly fine. I was nervous every time he was out there because it's Luke Schenn, but he did absolutely fine. Asian goalie saying it was 17 seconds without a blocker, and he made like 3 saves during that. Kai saying, I thought Hamonic had a decent night considering he had no training camp and 1 AHL game played. Yeah, Hamonic was fine. He had 1 really good hit in the near side corner where I was sitting. That kind of got the crowd involved in the first period. He was totally fine. And I think I mentioned in my post game, and someone mentioned this in a Reddit comment that got a bunch of upvotes. So anyone who's here from that Reddit thread, hello. Because I know I got like 15 subs from it. He played 17 minutes tonight. Poulin only played 14. They had Hughes out there for 22. Yeah, I think Hamonic was fine. And like I said, I think he played like 22 minutes in that Abbotsford game and he didn't look out of place. He looked like his conditioning was fine. Clearly he has been working off ice. Yeah, Hamonic was totally fine. MB saying, I hate even up calls in hockey. One of the worst parts about the game, the late calls on Höglander and OEL were soft. This is something I preach every time, every game, and it goes both ways, right? There are so many games. I think there was a study done that I read like a year ago. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like there is such a high percentage of games that the power play differential is less than 1. It's like it's 1 or less, right? So if one team gets 5 power plays, the other team always has between 4 and 6 percentage wise. It really doesn't matter about the way the team plays. It really matters on how many penalties the refs are calling on a night-to-night basis. And this one was a very similar example. Penalties were 6-3 in favor of the Canucks, having 6 power plays to the Rangers 3, and then the 2 calls late that were pretty ticky-tack, in my opinion, that go the other way. And luckily, Demko was able to bail the team out. Terrence saying thoughts on Justin Bailey. I liked his game. I thought Justin Bailey was, honestly, I didn't notice him that much. And it might just be because, of my viewpoint. I see lots of people saying that Bailey played well and that he should get honorable mentions. I didn't really notice him that much. In his, 11 and a half minutes of ice time, 2.5 shorthanded. I thought he was good on the penalty kill. I thought the Canucks penalty kill was good, other than the ones that they didn't get scored on at the very least. The very first penalty kill of the game for the Canucks was absolutely textbook. And Bailey was a good part of that. Oh my God, this name is a tongue twister. Abadabobo. Thoughts on Demko not allowing a 5-on-5 goal for 136 minutes. Is that actually a stat? That's unreal. But it sounds right. Good on him. He has been so good. Nick saying crowd was amazing. Yeah, in the third and OT it was, for sure. And it wasn't a full house. I would say it was about 75% full. I was looking at tickets before I went, before I bought mine, and there was a lot of tickets available for sale. But on the secondary market, they were way cheaper. But there was a lot of tickets available. Hot Take is here. Hello. Hello, John. Saying congrats on the win, Canucks fans. Thank you. Congrats on your win for your Leafs as well. Mitch Marner with one of the nuttiest goals of the season. That was filthy by Mitch Marner. So a quick shout out for that one. Leo saying, hope this is the turning point of the season. Absolutely. MB woke up early in Sweden to catch the third period. What time would that have been? I guess game ended at like 9:30. What's that? 5 a.m. In Sweden, something like that. Definitely the right choice for sure. So yeah, it's thoughts on the Miller Petey Garland line. Is it here to stay? There are no lines that are here to stay in Travis Green's world. Things will get shuffled continuously. I thought they were good though. I thought they were good. Hagam saying it would be nice if for next practice they just showed Edmonton Oiler power plays and just copied them. I agree. I say this every time. Every time that anyone talks about power play, I just compare the Canucks to the Edmonton Oilers, whose power play, by the way, is at 46.2%. And their penalty kill is at 91%. That's the reason the Oilers are winning games. And the Canucks have the skill to do it. They just don't replicate it. Steve also saying huge changes need to be made on the power play. Just horrible. I totally agree. Brad saying the little elf has been amazing. He has. I know he doesn't like the nickname, but he has been phenomenal. Casket Brain saying JT Miller beats the Rangers once again. Yeah, he's 8-0 against his former team, the New York Rangers. Time for Rocky saying still concerned about Petey. Petey's not at 100% still. I really like, there was one little play that I don't know if it got called out on the broadcast or anything, but he received a pass that got sort of deflected on the right wing, and he like kicked it up to his stick, like off his back heel, and it was so fluid, and it was like classic Elias Pettersson, and it was one of those things that was like, okay, he's got some confidence back. He looked fine tonight. I'm still a little concerned because he hasn't looked like Elias Pettersson yet. But the concern is going down, and I think he is progressing. Kai Howard saying, I love Tanner Pearson, but at this point in his career, he's a valuable third liner and a good filler for the second if someone gets injured. He makes the second line a lot slower. I'd agree here. I think Travis Green is really married to the idea of Tanner Pearson playing with Bo Horvat, which I don't like very much. Because I do think Tanner Pearson is a really good third liner, like you said here. And I think that's a great spot for him. And the Canucks have the personnel to put other guys in the second line, right? If you're doing Garland, Pettersson, and Miller on the first line, you can do something like Höglander, Horvat, and Besser or Podkolzin. Right? There's names that can fit in there instead of Tanner Pearson. Courtesy saying fire higher Green. I'm still on the fence. And it's more, again, I don't hate Travis Green. I think his systems are getting a little bit old. But I do think that it's sort of a card that the Canucks can keep in their back pocket to fire him if the team continues sort of a slump and they need some sort of change. It's one of those things that they can just sort of have in the back pocket. I do have an eyelash in my eye, which is lovely. Luke is saying, does this help the momentum going into November? Absolutely. And they're playing against teams that they can win, they can beat, right? They are playing against Nashville, Dallas, and Anaheim next, right? The Rangers were their toughest test in the last 4 games of the homestand. They need to keep this up. They need to, if they don't beat the next 3 teams, they need to at least play really well and be the better team on the ice in the next 3 games. Oh my God, your name is killing me. About a Bobo, how many minutes did Brock Besser play? He played 15:55, so just under 16 minutes, 5.5 of those on the power play. So only about 10 minutes of evens time. BR saying, imagine Podkolzin with a defensive aspect to his game. Great players consistently find ways to improve. Yeah, I have no worry about Podkolzin. And again, it comes down to how much he loves the game and how he seems to love succeeding. And I think it's just something he's going to keep working on, right? He's 19 years old. He's got the shot. My God, does he have the shot? And if he evolves into having that defensive aspect and he can keep up 6 hits in a game is crazy. If he can keep up the physical side and he can develop that defensive side in this game, Vasily Podkolzin is going to be an absolute stud. Virtual Reality Channel saying, can't help but think power play would be better if Garden was on the first unit. Yeah, I think maybe, although I think he really adds a lot to power play 2 at this point, because I think power play 2 is playing better than power play 1. I think if you took the personnel of power play 1 and put them on power play 2 and told them to play like power play 2 does, the Canucks would have a really good power play. Just they have a totally different style. Agam saying, hopefully it starts a big run. Let's see if we avoid the infamous November slump. Hopefully. The Canucks need to come out of November in a good spot. Agam saying, if the special teams gets fixed, watched out because we look nice 5-on-5. In this game, for sure, it has been a little bit rough lately. But tonight's game, the Canucks were good 5-on-5. They just need to get more chances in tight. They're doing so much from the outside. You're also saying, hope we see some film analysis soon. Eyes emojis. I am very busy tomorrow, but I am going to try to pump some out at some point. I'm just very busy recently, especially when the Canucks are losing. They're not fun to make. So maybe we'll put one together, if not tomorrow, maybe on Thursday, but I'm not going to make any promises. James also saying the team will be scary once the offense is 100%, including power play. Yeah, I mean, look, and this is something we talked about at length on Canucks After Dark last night. And the question was, where is the blame? Is it roster? Is it execution? Or is it coaching? If it's roster, it's on the GM. If it's execution, it's on the players. And if it's coaching, it's on the coach, right? And I think Clay and I both landed on it's kind of a mix of execution and coaching, right? We can see the issues with the play style. We can see the issues with the system, but we also see the players aren't performing up to the caliber that they have. So if all of the players perform at 100%, 110%, let's get wild with it. And then, and maybe we get some improvement on the system side. This is a team that can do some damage. It's just that they need to get some consistency going. Asian goalie saying, if this gives hope to anyone, Canucks didn't have a great start in 2010-2011. They were 4-3-2 in October. Yeah, but they'd also made the playoffs like 7 of the last 9 years, I think the stat was, right? We're talking about year 8 of a regime where they've only made the playoff twice. So it's a bit of a different example. Irwin saying, good win. Wins are definitely easier if they play with an actual lead. Team character as comeback kids isn't a sustainable one. Absolutely. If you look at the stats on the team that scores first, they do win most of the time, right? It is a lot easier to play with a lead than playing from behind. Agam is saying, Podkolzin is everything he who shall not be named wasn't. Yeah, I agree. And we were talking about this, my buddy and I, in our seats, saying like, man, isn't it nice that we don't have that guy to worry about? And we saw Podkolzin with a good drive to the net in the second period as well, right in front of us, where he drove around a guy and drove to the net. Things that previous guy didn't do. So he has, his ceiling, I think, is so much higher. Luke is saying, do you think Demko is up for all-star nods? Yeah. If he keeps up his play, yeah. And we're talking Olympic nods as well, and maybe a couple of Vezina votes. I don't know exactly what he's at. He was a 920 tonight. If you go by save percentage, there's a lot of goalies with really high save percentages. We're early in the season. Thatcher Demko is 20th in the NHL, but he's got a 923, a 248 goals against average, and that is with a pretty rough defensive team in front of him. I think Thatcher Demko is going to start catching the eyes of people around the league. I think people sort of went unnoticed with Bubble Demko. I think that highlight from tonight of him without a blocker making that kick save is getting spread around on Twitter a lot. I think people are going to start to take notice. We're going to take a last couple of questions here. James saying we're so close to being a contender. Only thing left to do is convince the Sedins to come back for one more season. Yeah, that would be a difference maker. Man, think of the depth if the Sedins came back at like league minimum and filled in on like the fourth line. Go Canuck Gus saying, I feel like Power Play 1 is so concerned about structure that they kind of lose flow of the game and the confidence to make plays. Yeah, they are very, very structure focused. I totally agree. And they don't keep it simple. They try to make the perfect plays all the time, and sometimes it works. There was a couple of power plays where they did have some good chances and they were finding the open man a lot. JT Miller was doing a little bit of Connor McDavid replication where he was doing sort of those like small circles on the top of the left circle, which I like to see. I'd like to see a little bit more dynamic movement from them though, for sure. Timmy the Tambourine saying, to quote a certain someone who has a passion for blueberries, Francesco Aquilini, somebody better buy Demko dinner after this one. Yes, he did tweet that out after the last game. Steve is blaming coaching. Alex is blaming coaching. Agam saying, wonder how Francesco is feeling right now. I'm sure he's fired up about the win. I'm sure he's just as nervous as we all are. Asian goalie saying, I noticed the first unit had a little switch on the very last power play. They put EP40 on the blue line, swapping with Quinn Hughes. Seems to be a good move to change the pattern to get Pettersson some shots. They also swapped OEL in with Quinn Hughes a little bit on the first power play, which worked okay. I think they're really just trying to find something that works. YouTuber 2021 saying, Podkolzin 6 hits in 10 minutes and a +1 and 1 goal. You reward a player, not cut his time. The thing is, I'm not worried about his like morale by lowering his ice time. I think he's getting a lot of praise. I bet Travis Green's giving him a pat on the back and saying, keep it up. You're crushing it, even though we're only giving you 7 minutes of ice time. And I remember from the night he scored his first goal that the media availability, he didn't get another shift after that goal, I think. And he was so happy after the game still. I'm not worried about his mindset. I'm not worried about him feeling down. I think Podkolzin's so happy to be in the NHL, and the way he's playing is really impressing me. However, yeah, I think he should have got more ice time, not for morale purposes. I think he should have got more ice time because he was a really good player. Agam saying, I just realized the Sedins work for the Canucks. How's the power play still so bad? Well, they're working a lot in Abbotsford, and they haven't really had a lot of practice time, and they haven't changed anything. So that is an interesting question. Agam saying, let Brock rip it on the power play. Yeah, I think he should be up higher in the power play. Move Miller down low. He is a much better player in tight than Besser is, and Besser's a better shooter. But that might just be too easy. And they want to make it fair for other teams. Kevin saying, who's the most valuable skater on the team as of right now? As of right now, it's been Connor Garland. He's been the player making the biggest impact. The most important to the team is always going to be Elias Pettersson, right? Because he has the highest skill ceiling. He's the best player. And if he gets back to his full capabilities, things are looking a lot better for this team. RC saying that the fans were chanting for Fire Green in the second period. I honestly didn't hear that. I saw that. I think it was Drance that tweeted something like they should be or something. I did not hear a single Fire Green chant in the arena tonight, to be completely honest with you. Asian goalie saying, as much as I appreciate they experiment new things, I would rather see the same line with different strategies than different line combinations. I agree. They do. They get very quick on changing the lines up, and they like to keep the same sort of structure and strategy. Yeah, I don't know how much chemistry really impacts things, but it clearly can't help all of the things that like all the line blending that we do see. Ash asking, would you want Torts replacing Green? No. Simple answer, no. Cietz, do you think Connor Garland gets a look for the U.S. Olympic squad if he keeps his play up? Again, he's racking up points at this point, right? How many points does Connor Garland have? Can I look it up? Connor Garland in 10 games has 10 points. If we are in February, 50 games in the season, he has 50 points, 55 points, then yeah, of course he gets a look. And I think they'd be crazy to not give him a look. Agam saying OEL has been such an improvement over Edler. Absolutely. We were talking about this with random people on the train on the way back, that the new 23 has been much better. He has been excellent. And I think we're going to wrap up there. Asian goalie asking Demko starting next game. Without a doubt, the Canucks have a 2-day break between this one and Friday. I see no reason not to put Demko back in the way he's been playing. Agam saying when Mock comes back, who goes out? It's going to be interesting because you're going to have Mock coming back. You might have Dowling coming back. And I think you just start pulling out guys like Bailey and Chason are the easiest to pull out. And we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with me for this post-game stream. We have 140 people in here, guys, at a late stream on a Tuesday night. Thank you guys very much for hanging out. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe. Kevin, just dropping a casual $14 super chat with a thank you sticker. Thank you very much, Kevin. I really appreciate it. And thank you all of you guys. I wouldn't be doing it without you guys. So hit subscribe. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning. If you want to listen to it in the morning, you can find it on your favorite podcast platform. We do this after every Canucks game, except the one that I missed because I went to that game too. So yeah, Friday night after the game, about 9:30 p.m. after the game against the Predators, right after the final horn, seconds after the final horn. Come join me there. Shout out to our VIPs, our backstage members, and our GOAT members. Adam and Lucas are our top tier members, and all of the VIPs out there. I really appreciate the support. If you want to support, you can click that join button down below and become a member. We're going to wrap it up there. What a fun, phenomenal game. I'm so glad I was there. Shout out JT Miller. Shout out Thatcher Demko. Hopefully the Canucks can keep this riding into Friday night and come out with some wins to finish off this homestand. Have a good one. We'll talk to you in the next one.